So my name is Erica Cullum, and I'm the founder of Collective Commons, and I am on a mission to help people feel more connected to themselves, each other, and the world around them. And one way that I've decided to start doing that, my pandemic project, is to start having these conversations with other people that help you tap into your own inner knowing and your own inner strength through various experiences and moments in your life. And Staci is just that. Staci is the founder of Labor of Love in Orange County, California. And I'm going to go ahead. Staci has a beautiful mission. I'm so excited to share this because we talked last week, and she's working on changing the narrative of birth experiences, which is so important because one thing that I learned when I was pregnant is that misery seems to love company, and everyone just wanted to tell me about their bad experiences. And that's not what you need when you're pregnant. So, Staci, can you give us a little bit of your background and your experience?
Yeah, so I had a similar experience where when I was first pregnant, you heard these horrifying stories, and then there's all these videos you can watch, and it just seemed like if you wanted a decent experience, then you needed to go all unmedicated or have a home birth, right? And then that seemed like in juxtaposition, well, what if I want a hospital birth? I can't have a good experience in a hospital. So in doing all those things, I think that we don't necessarily inspire each other like we used to. We don't see birth anymore. It's all behind closed doors. And what we do see sounds scary, right? So in, times begone, we would be with people that birth. We'd be with our sisters. We'd be with our moms because they would be having more children. We would see birth. We would see how a woman's body moves. We would understand it on a different level. And so I think things are always scarier in the dark. And so my first experience in understanding there has to be a different way. It can't just be black and white. And so kind of navigating my own birth experience that wasn't necessarily traumatic. It was actually quite ordinary, but I had trauma from it. And I didn't think that that was fair. I didn't understand it afterwards. At this moment, I would definitely say that I had PTSD from my birth experience. And so heading into my second birth, I was terrified. I was just terrified. And I didn't know how to support myself. And, midwives and doctors, they don't have the time to tell you how to move in that moment. They're just there to medically help you. So, I educated myself, and then I didn't understand why this information wasn't readily available, because once I had that information at my fingertips, once I understood how to support myself, once I understood how to give myself the grace to take care of myself, I had an amazing birth experience, and even though it was hard, even though it was challenging, even though it was raw, and I got to a moment where I was like, oh my God, am I going to live? I came out of that experience going, that was transformational for me personally, not just the fact that I became a mom, but the experience is worth doing. And I think we negate that experience, right? And then we share the stories of how bad it was, but we also don't say how good it was and all the amazing things that we inspired ourselves to do in that moment. So my mission is that we take birth as a beautiful experience, hard, good, bad, ugly, and we recognize how brave we are, how strong we are, and we inspire ourselves,
Yeah, absolutely. I think we need a lot more of that. Still to this day, when we look at media, when I'm watching just TV or movies or anything, it's always, this it shows the pain and the panic and stuff like that. And I personally, I was very fortunate. I had a really, really beautiful birth experience.
Awesome.
But I really mentally did a lot of preparation that, the whole months prior to that, because I knew that putting that work in beforehand would pay off in the long run, and it really did. And so I love that you're doing that and that you help your clients with that. So we were fortunate that we went through pregnancy and birth just pre-pandemic, I suppose. And so I know that just me personally, my niece and my godson are both expected to be arriving in the world in just a few weeks. I have some other pregnant friends. And so, you're working with expecting mothers and partners every day. What are some tools, what are some things that you're helping them with right now as we, try to shift into this moment that's happening collectively?
Yes, I think the biggest thing is that we have to understand the acuteness of our area. So I've had a lot of people come to me saying, should I switch to home birthing now? And it really depends on how impacted your hospital situation is right now, because I don't want any woman making that jump in fear, because that is a huge commitment. So we really have to educate ourselves in the moment. We can't make any decisions out of fear. So the way I'm talking to my current clients is we're talking about, okay, let's evaluate what's actually happening, because what's happening in other communities may not be happening in your community. So that's the first thing that we need to really do. We also need to put key tools in place so that we're managing our stress and overwhelm. It is already stressful to be pregnant, and then to add this moment in time, it's compounded. So we have to really put some tools into place, whether or not that's just sitting and getting really quiet and working on breath work, whether or not that's listening to inspirational talks, reading books, journaling. You want to really pull out all your stress tools. In my childbirth classes, we talk about them in normal terms, but even more so in such a high stress situation, we need to start doing those things for ourselves even more. So we're talking about how we manage the stress in our lives. We're talking about our acute situation so that we don't get overwhelmed by the global situation, right? And then we're really also focusing on the fact that we're still going to have a baby, and that maybe this time has changed and your birth plan may have changed a little bit, but our birth plans usually always change. And so we need to meet this moment with grace. We're still going to see, their teeny tiny fingers and their little nose, and it's still going to be a glorious, amazing day. So we also need to remind ourselves that we're going to be surrounded by love, right? And we're going to have support, and we're still going to have a baby, and this is going to pass, and you're still going to have a gorgeous child to live a lifetime with. So we're focusing a lot on those things too. Right? Yeah,
absolutely. I think that, birthing, no matter how you do it, is brave. And that's one of the things that I really respect and appreciate about you, is that, with your doulas and, everything that you do, that it doesn't matter how you birth, that you don't promote one methodology over another, that you're very inclusive with your birthing. So I think that's beautiful, because some people want the epidural. Some people want to be in a hospital. Some people want to be at home in their bed. And there's no right way or wrong way to do it.
There's no right way or wrong way to birth. It is not one size fits all, and we all come with our own set of tools. So I can't tell one woman you have to birth this way when another woman has a different set of tools. And so it really is about giving ourselves the grace and the self-care we need in that moment. We talk a lot about too, how I don't consider myself a birth advocate. I don't support birth. I support a family going through a tough time. I support a woman who needs to make critical decisions for herself and give herself the most care in the moment. It just happens to be in birth. You know what I mean? So I'm supporting a woman and her choices and her strength and all of those things, not birth, if that makes any sense.
Sure. So when you're working with your clients and you have, a woman that's trying to kind of figure out her options of how she wants to birth, what are kind of some guides or some just, ways that you might help facilitate that conversation? What are things that a woman needs to be thinking about when they're trying to figure out what's best for me?
Yeah. So kind of in the way my childbirth classes are kind of formatted, it's a lot about personal growth. So we talk about, trying to really understand ourselves best, because if it's kind of hard without getting really intimate, but what we bring to birth is any past trauma, any physical or sexual abuse we bring into this moment, any body images, any body image disorders we have, all of that stuff we bring into this moment. So we really encourage our clients to get to know themselves, get to understand what their triggers are, get to understand that in this moment through birth, and one reason why I love birth so much is it can help us heal past trauma, right? When you rise to the occasion, when you get to that moment of this is very scared, that precipice of your comfort zone, right? And you have to push past your comfort zone. There's so much that you can heal in this moment, right? What your body's doing, what it has created, so we really want this experience to be more than I had a baby. It's like we always say you don't just want to go through the moment, you want to grow through it. So we talk a lot about personal growth, understanding yourself, because if you can't manage, say, a typical vaginal exam at the doctor's office, it's going to be probably really hard for you not to have an epidural. So we have to get really clear on how much we can handle physically, and how much we can really handle emotionally. So we talk about our emotional tape. We talk about the tape we tell ourselves. We talk about positive self-talk. Where do you go to? Some of us are resilient, right? And they're just like, oh, I can do anything. And that's what's going on in their brain. I can do this, I can do this. And then some of us are kind of like, I hate this, and like kicking and screaming. And so we have to know ourselves. You have to know where you land in all of that makeup, because all of that's going to arise in this moment,
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think I think for anyone, pregnant or not, some of that self-work can get it's a little challenging. It's a little scary. It's not something that we always want to do.
Right.
But I completely agree with you that taking the time beforehand to really figure out like who am I and what can I do it makes a world of difference when that moment actually comes. And so I love that one thing that you've done actually, Staci, is when we were talking, you said that you spent the past 5 months taking your birthing classes and putting them online, which turns out to be a wonderful time to do that.
I know.
So, and can you tell me a little bit about your birthing classes? Because I know that this is a partner-based class, correct?
Right.
Yes, partner-based class. So it's not just for mothers, it's for you and your partner.
It's for you and your partner, because really in birth, we need more support in our lives than ever. So that can be your sister, it can be your spouse, it can be, your mother, it can be anybody, but we need to invite help in. And that's like a big moment of growth too. For me in birth, I was like, I can do this, I can do it all by myself. And it's like, no, I need support. So that's kind of a big thing, inviting support in. So we talk a lot about that in the childbirth classes. We need to trust our support team because we need to rely on them. So I spent the last 5 months putting my classes online, and it was very hard and challenging, and I questioned it. Why am I doing this? And then when I found myself here, it all became very clear. No one could have predicted this moment in time, but I am so fortunate that I did that, because, I didn't just throw them up. I actually invested in a huge program to make them succinct. They follow exactly what I've been teaching for the last 8 years, and I had the time to invest to make them just like I wanted to, because I tend to be a perfectionist. So I feel really proud about the classes. And right now I'm being forced basically to get more visible, which is scary and vulnerable, because I want people to have the support they need as their classes get canceled. For me, our husbands, now we're finding our place in a situation where maybe doulas aren't allowed in. And so we need our husbands to understand how they need to make us feel safe. They don't have to be our doula, but they do need to be present. If it's our sister who's coming in, she needs to kind of understand how to be present for us So the classes help our partners understand how to support us in that situation, you know, because coming up to us and saying, how can I help? That ain't going to work.
Right.
You know, so we give,
gotta lay that groundwork before you get into the moment.
Yes. You never ask a laboring woman what she needs, because she can't even tell you that, you know.
I don't know.
You know,
I
and
didn't
that's
know.
what
I still don't even remember all of my like my husband knows, like he was in there. He can tell you like moment by moment, and I was just so zoned out that I'm like, I had a baby. I don't know.
Right.
So
well, that's where you need to be. It's a very primal space, and there's so much happening that we go inward. We call it labor land. So you go inward and time melts away. We don't know who's in the room. We're just right in that moment. So we aren't able to say, I need to move. I need a sip of water. I need it cooler in here. I need the lights turned off. Like, we can't say those things in labor. You know, I talk about how it's nearly impossible for us to take care of ourselves in labor. So we need to have our partner who understands, okay, she needs a cloth to wipe the sweat off her face. She needs a sip of water. We need to maybe go to the restroom. We need to maybe change positions. I need to give her encouragement because I don't know what she's telling herself. You know, so we really bone up all of the skills for a laboring woman, so she knows how to see this moment in her own individual way. And then her partner feels confident enough to come near in this moment as well.
Amazing. So I know that Labor of Love, you have birth doulas and postpartum doulas. And you mentioned something to me about virtual doulas now. So what does that look like?
You know, it's something that I was actually resistant about up until this moment, but we've had to transition some of our clients to part person to person and then part digital or virtual, because we aren't at this current time able to go to the hospital with them. So because of the current pandemic, which I totally understand, they're minimizing who goes into hospitals, and I totally respect that. So so what we've done is now we're either on the phone with the support person, the support person who's with the woman, or the woman herself. And, you know, I feel like more so than any moment in time, we're giving so much more support, where I understand now that having a lifeline to call or just say, this is happening, what can we do, have some coaching. It's a really beautiful type of support we can offer, you know, that without even being there. So a couple can still have that moment together, but we're there coaching them as they go along. So even throughout the night, we're texting or we're talking on the phone. And it's been pretty powerful because we've been able to give partners so much confidence, where, you know, the woman's not even aware that we're having this conversation, and their partner shows up in such a large way that it's impacting birth in such a different, profound way if we were there person to person. So it's been a really interesting adjustment and something quite lovely to see and participate in. So we're offering virtual doula services, you know, because we can't get into the home with them. And that literally means you have a lifeline. You have someone to call. You have someone to reach out to and say, I need help. And we're right there for you at any time throughout the day or night.
I love that. Well, Staci, all of this was so great. So I'm definitely taking away, and I'm hoping that all of the expecting mothers and partners out there are taking something away from this. But, you know, checking your local situation of what's happening there, most important, and then just knowing yourself and asking for help. So I think those were some really beautiful insights. And I know that you have a wealth of information on your website, which is laborofloveservices.com, right?
Yep.
And all of the information about your online birthing classes are there. I saw that you have a 20% off special right now, which is really great.
Yes.
So if anyone's
and our
looking...
breastfeeding, our breastfeeding classes included in the childbirth classes as well.
Oh, Amazing, amazing,
Yeah.
amazing. Is there anything else that you would want to say to anyone out there that's looking for just a little extra light during their pregnancy right now?
Well, one thing I do want to mention, because I know I've had so many calls about this, the fear that the husband won't be allowed in the hospital. And that was a policy that New York had made, and I know it had spread fear throughout the nation. And Governor Cuomo just actually took that off. He announced that no woman will have to labor alone. So I really want people to not worry about that. I don't think that they're going to do that at all anymore, because plenty of care providers and nurses and midwives have stood up and said, we're causing more trauma. We cannot allow this. Mm-hmm. So hopefully that can alleviate some fear, because there's no reason not to allow your partner in. You live together. So if one's coming in with something, the other one's got it too, or they're both safe. So I hopefully that brings some kind of calm and peace, that your partner will be allowed to come in. You get one support partner, so maybe it's your mom, maybe it is your doula, maybe it's your spouse, but you will still be surrounded by love. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Staci, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I could listen to you talk about this all day, but I want to be mindful of everyone's time. And I'm so glad we got to do this today. Thank you for sharing your
thanks
light.
You for inviting me to do this. Yes.
Yeah, your positivity. So we'll save this so people can catch the replay. And
awesome.
Staci's at Labor of Love Services on Instagram and laborofloveservices.com online. So if you are expecting and you would like some more information, please check her out.
Yeah, Labor